Hey race fans, Hall of Famer Darrell Waltrip here. You know it's time to drop the green flag on another edition of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic. So, hey, pull those belts tight one more time. Here's my buddy Hermie Sadler and Senator Bill Stanley. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's see what they have to say, boys and girls.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And I'm former NASCAR driver and Fox Sports analyst Hermie Sadler. I'm also co-owner of a winning team on the Smart Modified Tour. And this is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic.
Hey, Herm.
How are you?
I'm doing a lot better now after Sunday. How are you?
Sunday was a big day.
Big day. Big day. We're gonna talk about it today on today's podcast, this week's podcast. We've got an action-packed podcast, don't we?
Yeah, today's going to be a lot of fun. We will open up. First of all, we've got to set the scene. I mean, you've got sponsor obligations and things hanging in the balance. So for the second week in a row, we're not in the same room. So this could be somewhat of a train wreck, but we'll try to work through it. But let's set the stage.
Well, I once again have my pocket advertiser, my sponsor, for my Leaning Right moment. It has not changed. It has only gotten better. They're fully committed. Now, have you gotten a sponsor for your Turning Left moment yet?
No, I got plenty of people trying to pay me more than $10 a mention, but that's too much. So I've got to find the right sponsor for the right, the right investment to get me where I need to be to turn us on. So we're doing the show over Zoom today. We are not in the Stanley Law Group, high atop the Stanley Law Group skyscraper. We are hooked up via Zoom. You're in your office and you're end of the state, and I'm in my office on my end of the state. And but you're right, we've got a great show lined up. We will do our leaning right and our turning left moments coming up in the intro to the show. And then later today, the winner of Sunday's Smart Modified Tour race at Franklin County Speedway. That would be the one, the only Jonathan Brown driving the SS Racing Pace O Matic car to victory lane at Franklin County. And then we'll close the show today with a guest that many people know. This guy's kind of been connected at the hip with the Sadlers in our racing career since the very beginning. Chris Rice, who his family has been involved in racing since way before my family even was, in a lot of ways. His dad and uncle in the racing business, building race cars, and then Elliott and I both spent the majority of the early days of our respective careers in late model stock cars, living with and racing with the Allen and Earl Rice A&E race cars out of South Boston, Virginia. And Chris started with us, moved on with me to help at the beginning of my Busch Grand National Series career. And he now, as we sit here today, is the man in charge at Kaulig Racing. They run multiple Xfinity Series programs, multiple Cup Series programs, and they have been the breakout team in NASCAR for the last couple of years at both of those levels. So we want to get Chris back on, catch up, first of all, and talk about where he's at, what's going on, but also reminisce a little bit about mine and Elliott's early days in racing and how the Rice family, including Chris and his mom and dad, Kathy and Alan and Uncle Earl and the whole family there helped us really get a jump start in our career. So fun show today.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. And, it just seems interesting to me. We tend to think sometimes that the center point of auto racing is in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's a lot of places where people are congregated now who are currently with NASCAR. But, I mean, how did South Boston become just this hotbed of racing? You've got the Burton family, you've got the Sadler family, you've got the Rice family. I'm sure I'm missing some other ones that you know about. But, I know South Boston's got one of the greatest short tracks in the nation. We were just there a couple weeks back and did pretty well, placed second. But, man, how did this all come about where out of South Boston grew the history, the grassroots, and quite frankly, some of the finest families ever enter into racing?
It's the location of the track. It's obviously in South Boston, Virginia, but that racetrack is in such a great location. People could get to it easily from North Carolina, could get to it easily from the Richmond area. Rich racing history in and around South Boston Speedway. And back in the day when we were running late models there in, say 90, 91, 92, and on to when Elliott started running late models and winning a track championship there, on any given Saturday night, you had guys like Wayne Patterson, Barry Begley, Maurice Hill, David Blankenship, Roy Hendrick. I mean, the name, if you could run good at South Boston, you could run good anywhere in the country. And it was no surprise, really, that when the group that ran at South Boston and even Orange County and tracks in the Mid-Atlantic, when we went to the big races at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro and some of the big late model races, the same ones that won at South Boston and Orange County every Saturday night were also the same ones you had to beat on any given weekend when we went to the quote unquote big races on the weekend. So a lot of racing history, but I'm really excited to catch back up with Chris. His family was very instrumental. You mentioned the Burtons. They also helped Jeff and Ward Burton get started in their late model stock car careers, and Elliott now, and a lot of others as well. So I want to catch up with Chris on that as well. But let's get to the first sponsor point of today's broadcast, and that is the Leaning Right moment, brought to you by Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley from Franklin County. So give us your sponsor spiel, and then we'll start talking about the Leaning Right moment for today's show.
And before we get started, and we're videotaping this, so anyone that's seeing this is when we put it out on Thursday. You see our poster, our banner is behind me because I'm sitting high atop, once again, the Stanley Law Group skyscraper overlooking beautiful downtown Richmond, the capital of the Commonwealth in Virginia. But it's reversed, I guess, because of the camera. So that's to make it even harder for you, Hermie, to remember to say.
Perfect for me. I can look right at it.
Turning left.
Perfect.
Really? So you can read right to left, or right to left.
Are you insinuating that as a politician that you're not quite sure if you're leaning right or not?
I'm having a little bit of a problem because the arrow that's right next to my head here, behind me, it says fellow Ernicht, and it says turning left.
Do I have to start? Should I start calling you Rhino?
No Rhino here, my friend. Fully conservative inside and out. Have a soft place for dogs and cats, but otherwise I'm a hardened conservative, compassionate conservative, but very much a conservative. Just because of this sign saying turning left doesn't mean it's pointing at me turning left. So today's Leaning Right moment is once again, brought to you by the wonderful Charlie's Waterfront Cafe, located at 201 Mill Street in downtown Farmville, Virginia, right next to the Greenfront Furniture Market, the big warehouse there when you go down and you're looking for furniture, or when you're dropping your kids off at Longwood University or Hampton Sydney. When you want a great meal, great entertainment, maybe you just want a cocktail. You want to sit out and hear the rush of the water of the Appomattox River. The place to be is Charlie's Waterfront Cafe. And even if you're not hungry, but you're thinking like you want a little bit of good Virginia wine, you can go right below them there in Suite B on the lower floor of that old mill that they've turned into a wonderful restaurant. And you can go to the Virginia Tasting Cellar, and you can get some of the finest wines that are made here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. These stalls are set up to where each vintner has their own stall, and you can go around and taste some of the finest reds and whites that are ever produced here in Virginia soil. Charlie's Waterfront Cafe, brought to you by Tom Graziano, one of my best friends, my old roommate at Hampton City. I have all his secrets. He has all mine. We've mutually agreed to never unlock that vault ever, but he might give us some when he's going to come on to the show. But I'll have to pay him in kind with some of my memories as well. I just hope it's not like a Joe Camarata moment when Joe was saying this happened when I know something different happened. I'll be definitely right there correcting it.
So the link to the ad you just narrated is worth about $1,500. So as long as you're getting that kind of money, we're good.
Well, I'm certainly my ad for my Leaning Right moment is more expensive than the one that you've been hawking and still don't have a sponsor for. But Charlie's Waterfront Cafe is a beautiful place overlooking the beautiful Appomattox River. It's a wonderful place to get a great meal with your family. It's family oriented. It's also got, like I said, music and ambiance, savoir-faire. Whatever you want, you can find it at Charlie's Waterfront Cafe, which proudly sponsors the Leaning Right Moment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about something that came up in the news. We've been seeing it if you've been watching the news a lot. In Florida, Governor DeSantis passed a bill. Well, he signed the bill that the legislature passed that said that in public school, we would not expose our children in grades kindergarten to third grade, ages 5 to 8, to any sexually explicit material or any teachings about sexuality. Seems like a no-brainer to me, right, Hermie? I mean, I don't think there's any parent that thinks their 5 to 8-year-old needs to be taught about sexuality, and especially if those issues come up, that they should be reserved exclusively to the parent. You agree?
I agree totally.
Yeah, and so that seemed to be a common sense bill, but what we've seen is Walt Disney has decided that that's an anti-gay or anti-trans bill, which it's not. It's just kind of making sure that when you're 5 to 8 during the formative years, you're worried about reading, writing, and arithmetic, not Tommy wants to be Tammy. And I don't think that's a bad thing, and I think it leaves, again, the primacy of the decision-making when it comes to these very sensitive topics in the hands of the parent, where it should be. So what we've seen is some backlash from corporate America that now seems to think that they're woke and that our 5-year-olds need to be talked to from a teacher who is not a family member about transsexuality or sexuality in general. And so you've seen a big kerfuffle about that. And why I bring that up is because I think it's good common sense legislation. It should be within the purview exclusively of the parent, but it's not in today's society. And the Democrats are going wild that somehow they're getting, they're not able to release their agenda to the 5 to 8-year-olds. But I think what we're seeing is a lot of what's going on is that in the public school realm, where many of the unionized teachers are liberal, they believe that this is a way that they can control, indoctrinate, and should be able to dominate what our children learn. And we've seen that in the Commonwealth of Virginia and Loudoun County schools. We've seen it in the fight, even in the election of Glenn Youngkin, that we don't need to be taught critical race theory. We need to be taught the good, the bad, and the ugly of history, but not one side. We don't need to turn our children into oppressors and the oppressed and separate them. We're seeing in our schools right now where bullying is going on between the races based on some of these teachings, and it's not right, and it's making it harder for parents, including myself, who then have to educate our children or deal with these issues when they come up. But similarly, in Virginia, we had, and Chad, I'm going to ask you to go get my computer and bring it over here so I can read you the code section because I think it's important. And you can go on my Facebook page, Senator Bill Stanley, and see the speech I gave about this bill. Senator Donovan wrote a bill basically that said that we in the Commonwealth of Virginia, if a teacher or a librarian is going to expose your child to anything sexually explicit, and specifically sexually explicit as defined by the code, then you have the right to be notified as the parent. And when you're notified, you have the right to say, my children are not going to see that. Governor Youngkin just signed that bill into law. And it struck me when I was looking at the Florida matters about saying that somehow keeping your kids, all children in public school, away from topics of sexuality from the age of 5 to 8 was somehow discriminatory. That what we were hearing in the Commonwealth of Virginia on the floor of the Senate, and my argument conversely back to them on the floor of the Senate is on Facebook, was that this was censorship. We are burning books because those books may have sexually explicit content. But if you read the bill, which the Democrats, of course, voted against, except for one in the Senate, and I think the vote was pretty tight, what this bill did that Governor Youngkin has now signed and made law said basically that certain sexually explicit material could not be exposed to the children without permission of the parents after notice having been first given to the parents. Well, let me read, because it referenced the code section. It says, in the same guideline as Virginia Code 2.22827. The title of that code, as I argued on the floor of the Senate, is Restrictions on State Employees' Access to information infrastructure. So what does that mean? So this content, which they said should be exposed to our children in our schools, is actually banned for any teacher or any employee of the state to have their own devices that they use in doing their jobs. Sexually explicit content was defined as in that code section, which is now in this law, that you cannot expose children to this without notifying parents first and getting their permission. Sexually explicit content means any description of any picture, photograph, drawing, motion picture, film, digital image, or similar visual representation depicting sexual bestiality, a lewd exhibition of nudity, as nudity is defined in our code. Sexual excitement, sexual conduct, or sadomasochistic abuse, also defined in 182390. Corporophilia, which is having to do with excrement. Urophilia, which has to do with the number 1, or fetishism. And yet they wanted to kill this bill that would have allowed our children to be exposed to that, because it was censorship if we tried to do it differently. But the only state employee, the librarian and the teacher, could not possess such information on their tablets, on their computers, on their phones, or in devices that they might use in the school. Talk about crazy. I think what we're seeing now is the woke left is demonstrably being shown that they have been trying to inject this into our kids. They're getting caught. The lights have gone on. And now what we're seeing is a complete pulling back of the curtain of where, when it comes to the left, parents are not the primary instructor and teacher of our children. They are. When they say it takes a village to raise a child, they mean the village, not the parents. And so I think this was a great piece of legislation. Siobhan Donovan, our senator, should be credited with it, and the governor signing it was a brilliant stroke. And I think even DeSantis's bill is the same. We should put raising our children back into the hands of our parents and leave the school out of those issues which are most sensitive and that are our responsibility as parents to teach our children.
And to me, from the outside looking in, this issue, I believe, in the election for the governor of Virginia was a tipping point in that election between Terry McAuliffe and now Governor of Virginia Glenn Youngkin. When the issue of schools and parents and those type things, to me, that's really when the tide started to turn back the other way. Just from, maybe not on this particular issue per se, but things related to parents having the right and wanting to be involved with their education of their kids and what's being taught and what's not being taught. And when that started to be on the front page of the newspaper, that's when a lot of people in Virginia, in some of the areas that Republicans have struggled over the years, that's when people really started looking towards Glenn Youngkin, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, we're not that old that, when we were in elementary school, K through 3, we were not taught about sexuality. We were not taught about anything related to that. Even when we were in our teenage years, we were not exposed to sexually explicit books that talked about sadomasochistic abuse or fetishism, urophilia, or, sexual bestiality. And suddenly we have teachers that my teachers back in elementary school and high school would never even thought about something like that being proper. And now they scream censorship. How dare a parent get the heads up on what you're about to teach your child? That's us. I mean, that's when the door closes on the front door of the school, they're in control and you, the parent, have no control. And I think you're seeing, whether it's Loudoun County, which is a liberal place, or down here in Franklin County where I am at, or anywhere else where parents are finally standing up and going to their school board meetings, being active and saying, you're not going to do this. I think the pandemic really had a big effect on parents finally seeing what's going on in their schools and saying, hey, look, if my tax dollars are going there and my children are going there, I've got to say, and we should be collaborating. And the teachers' unions and the liberal left says, oh, no, stay back. That door's closed. And good for the parents, good for government, a good bill that's now become a good law in Virginia that protects children, protects parents and the primacy of their ability to raise their children, and good for Governor DeSantis.
Glad people have finally started to pay attention. Now, let's switch to the turning left. You got to move your head so I can read the banner.
I'm sorry.
There, Senator. The unsponsored turning left moment, of course. In the next segment, we'll have the driver of the SS Racing Smart Open Wheel Modified, the most recent winner on the Smart Modified Tour. He'll be up next. But also, before we bring John Boy on, we want to talk, we had some, before Franklin County Modified race on Sunday, Martinsville Speedway hosted 3 days of racing, truck race, Xfinity race, and Cup Series race. Now, William Byron kind of bookended the whole weekend. He won the truck race on Thursday night, came back and won the Cup race on Saturday. And then I think the race that you were most interested in, the Xfinity Series race, Brandon Jones got his 5th career win, but nobody even paid attention to who won the race.
No, because number one, I think Xfinity this year and even last year was even a lot more exciting than the Cup Series was. The Cup Series,
the Cup race at Martinsville was not good.
No, it was boring.
The truck race was very good. The Xfinity race was very good, very competitive. But when you run a Cup Series race, even though it was cut back to 400 laps, you've only got one caution outside of stage breaks and all at Martinsville, the cars were going too fast. It was too much grip. And I don't know if it was the cars, tires, transmission, the independent rear suspension components. There'll be some time before they kind of figure out why there wasn't more parity, in the cars. But just wasn't a whole lot of passing going on. That's usually what you see at Martinsville is good side by side short track racing, a lot of beating and banging, exciting finishes and those kind of things. But we didn't see that in the Cup race, but we certainly saw it all the way to coming off turn 4 for the last lap in the Xfinity race, as not only was the race checkered flag on the line, but also $100,000 dash for cash on the line. And that put us in a situation where Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer were trying to occupy some of the same territory on the racetrack coming to the checkered flag.
That's exactly right. And not only that, but I think they ought to do the dash for cash a lot, because that seems to make it really matter at the end to even the guys that maybe not running for the checkers, but in the back running for that dash for cash. And so what you saw.
The turning left was the right hook, left hook combination from Ty Gibbs, which he's had some training. That wasn't the first time he had done that.
No, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, that combination was something I saw, like with the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran, how he kind of led and then followed in and really caught Mayer off his feet. He went down. And I saw Ty Gibbs following him down, still going. But you're seeing a lot of heat in the post-race world of fans saying that Ty Gibbs it was unfair because Ty Gibbs didn't take his helmet off. But I don't think Sam Mayer gave him a chance to take his helmet off. I mean, he kind of lifted it
There's
kind of
no
smartly.
rule. People can say what they want. 90% of the feedback on social media has been, Ty Gibbs has a great opportunity because he's in the best equipment money can buy.
Right.
His dad, Coy, his grandfather, Joe. But people want to discredit him because of who his family is. You put him in the car, he's still getting the job done. I mean, The kid's won a bunch of races. So I dismiss those arguments as sour grapes when everybody wants to just talk about who Ty's grandfather is and all that.
Right.
And the other part, there is no rule, never has been a rule, that if you're going to go confront another driver that you have to take your helmet off. So that's just one thing I love about NASCAR fans, but also the one thing that makes NASCAR fans look really foolish is they view everything, racing on the track, incidents on pit road, everything, they view it through the lens of their favorite driver.
Right.
If their favorite driver does it, it's okay. If their favorite driver is the victim, it's not okay. So I don't see any issue with, Ty Gibbs going and having a conversation with Sam Mayer. I don't have any issue with Sam Mayer deciding that the right thing for him to do was to take his helmet off and try to address face-to-face. Ty chose not to do that. But when Ty walked away and Sam followed him back out, of his car area on pit road, that's kind of when, things get a little bit tricky. So Sam wanted to maybe show him up a little bit and get one last little push in. Ty wasn't having it, and there you have it.
Well,
but ultimately, it provided a lot of excitement for the fans, and we needed it because we certainly didn't get it Saturday night.
Well, and as a trial lawyer, criminal defense attorney, when Sam touched him, that, if you're going to go assault and battery, that's a provocation. Ty was justified legally to do whatever he wanted. Now, it was great TV, and for that little scrappy guy, I mean, amazing. He's like a snack-sized Roberto Duran. I mean, he just kind of came right in there. I was pretty surprised that he was able to throw a good punch with his helmet on like he did. It reminds me, as a matter of fact, and I don't know if you know this, Hermie, but I grew up around the Gibbs children. When Coach was the coach of the Redskins, they lived in the Vienna-Oakton area where we all went. We went to the same high schools. We played on the same sports leagues in what was called VYI, Vienna Youth Incorporated. Coy was a couple years younger than me, but at my weight class in organized football for VYI, and he played on the Bengals. I think it was the 85-pound or 95-pound Bengals. And we would play, and I was on the Falcons, so it would be like the clash of the two Vienna teams, same weight class. And he was like a nose guard. And let me tell you, he flattened this guy for as little as he was and big, stocky kind of guy, even at that time. He didn't take crap from nobody. And I remember getting run over by him a couple times in youth football. JD went on, God rest his soul, to be our quarterback for Oakton High School. But Coy was, he was a gamer. He was a baller, and he was certainly tough. And I remember maybe being a little bit smaller, but I was pretty small too compared to the other guys. But that didn't matter. So if he's raised his son to stick up for himself, and he's got that Coy Gibbs kind of attitude, well, then that's what you get when you start pushing him in the pits. And so I think NASCAR fans are going to make Ty Gibbs the villain from here on out. But that brings some personality to NASCAR. And I think, Sam Mayer to say that they were weak punches, but then you saw his eye, all swolled up. I didn't think that was exactly true, but I expect to see some more excitement out of that Xfinity League with those guys at least, and maybe some more.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with the action of either one of those guys. It was good TV, exciting racing, and everybody going for it, and that's kind of what you want. So we got to take a quick break here. We got Jonathan Brown, John Boy, our driver, in the pipe, and he's coming up next. And we want to talk to him about the big win at Franklin County Speedway. And then later this afternoon on this show, Chris Rice, who is now the man in charge at Kaulig Racing. But we have a lot of history, Elliott and I both, with Chris. We'll catch up with him later. But next up is Jonathan Brown. And the next segment, this is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic.
NMLS number 65084, Equal Housing Lender. New Year's resolutions are just hard to keep up with, but saving money is easy at SaveWithConrad.com. Wouldn't 2022 be easier with lower monthly payments? Get the best rate you've ever had, pay off your credit card debt, and even get the cash you need right now at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to get started, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments at SaveWithConrad.com. Find out how much money you can save for free at SaveWithConrad.com.
Hi, folks. This is Hermie Sadler. Thanks for listening to our all-new podcast, Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I hope you are enjoying the show as much as Senator Stanley and I enjoy bringing it to you. Whether you're a family traveling together or a truck driver hauling freight up and down the highway, I hope you will take the time to visit one of our Sadler Travel Plaza locations in Virginia and North Carolina. Sadler Travel Plaza locations are licensed dealer locations for Pilot Travel Centers. And we also carry Shell Motiva petroleum products for our four-wheel friends. We pride ourselves on providing one-stop shopping for service, food, and entertainment. Our food options include Five Guys Burgers and Fries, Quiznos, Dairy Queen, Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grill, Victory Lane Restaurant, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, and much, much more. Our locations include Sadler Travel Plaza in South Hill, located off I-85 at exit 12. The Sadler Travel Plaza of Emporia, which is conveniently located on exit 11B off I-95, and Sadler Travel Plaza on Highway 58 in Suffolk. We also have our North Carolina location, Sadler Travel Plaza in Dunn, North Carolina. That's exit 75 off I-95. We appreciate all of our customers. And Bill and I appreciate you listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic.
And we're back. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm Turning Left. This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic. And Senator Stanley, this is a segment that I think we both have wanted to do since we started this podcast.
You are correct.
That is interviewing the winner of the Smart Tour race at Franklin County this past Sunday. Franklin County, by the way, who's the senator for that region?
For that region, it's actually Dave Suderline right there, but he doesn't live in Franklin County. I live in Franklin County, so I claim all of it, even though that's part of his territory.
Suderline was there, though. I saw him there.
He was there, and he had a great time. He brought his children. They had a great time. And everybody we brought there, we had friends of ours from the House of Delegates and the Senate, even from Congress. Morgan Griffith came and said the four most famous words in motorsports. He loved it. He had to leave early, but he was just so thrilled to be there and watch what a great race it was, even in the beginning. And so it is going to be my backyard if I get reelected to the Senate in 2023, because redistricting put all of Franklin County back into what is the Senate district I'll be running in. But what a great day. It's still my backyard, and it's a great racetrack. Jonathan, what did you think of the racetrack?
So that's only my second time there, but so I a lot of times I'll walk the track before the race, before practice or anything, and I'll walk that place. And if that place could talk, man, the stories it could tell. It's got tons and tons of character. It's a really fast little hole in the ground. Is the only way to explain it. It's a really cool racetrack. Really cool racetrack.
Well, it is a hole in the ground. I mean, it's kind of like walking back into 1950s. I don't think much has changed in terms of the physicality of it since they paved it in the 60s. But it is one of the best short tracks we have in the Commonwealth of Virginia, full of history. I mean, Bubba Wallace won his first race there as well. A number of first-time winners there in Franklin County. It could use a little bit of a facelift, but I wouldn't modernize it that much. But, man, you just seem to dominate it from the get-go, from practice to qualifying to the jump. What were your feelings? What were you thinking going in there? How did you execute? And just tell us about the race. We want to hear all about it.
So Hermie can tell you, you have days where you just have the feeling, you just have the feeling. You wake up and you just know it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day at the track. And we unloaded and showed speed right off the trailer. We made a few minor changes to the car and went right out second practice and was P2 on the board. And really, the rest of the guys were putting new tires on and making mock qualifying runs, trying to show a lot of speed. And we didn't do that. We went out and just in race trim, and they were kind of calling off lap times. I was moving the car around on the track, trying to figure out the preferred line, the line that I wanted to use that was going to be best on the tires. And they kept calling faster lap times. And like lap 20, I told the guys, like, look, if y'all are good, I'm good. We're P2 on the board, and we didn't even mock up here. We're in race trim. The car's good. We can win with it. So practice went really good. And then we switched over everything to qualifying trim, and I was a little overconfident that we was going to get the pole, or, at least the top five for sure. We ended up qualifying third. I just kind of over-tried my second lap, I think. But either way, qualifying's not everything. It's always nice to be the fastest qualifier, but it's not everything. We redraw the top 12 anyway. Redrew fifth. And I didn't take much time getting onto the front and getting the lead. I led some there to make sure I got those points for leading. And I guess we had a caution there, and I just kind of let the other guy go, and I finished second the first stage. Just didn't want to press the car too hard too early, because I could kind of tell everybody wanted to run pretty hard there. So we finished second the stage, but once we lined back up after the stage, I took off and got the lead, and I pretty much led pretty much led the majority. I led the majority of the race after that. The biggest part of it, anyway, I would say, from what I remember. I do remember leading the lap that counts, the last one. So,
Yeah.
but all in all, it was a good day. I knew I had a good car, and we had some guys come up and contend with us there. And as crazy as it sounds, and Hermie can tell you, there's times, even though these guys are pressuring you, and everybody from the outside looking in thinks they're, you're going to get past. They're all worried. There's a little strategy involved with that, some of that too. You just run as hard as you have to, and kind of make those guys use their stuff up. And that's kind of what I did. We had two really good battles with a 2-car, and at the end, all the strategy worked out, all the hard work in the shop worked out, all the months of planning worked out, and we were able to get our first smart modified win for the season.
Jonathan, what the cool part for me is, seeing, we started and got a couple races under our belt and talked to Phil during the week, and you've been very involved. What I like about you is you're not just a guy that shows up on Saturday or Sunday and hops in and goes. You not only can do all the work, you want to be involved. You want to know the workings of the car, and when you're changing something, why are we changing that, and what is it going to do to the car, and those kind of things. But it's kind of been neat I've talked to Phil 2 or 3 days a week, just about every week after a race, about what we did, what we had, what the car did, and what are we going to do to fix it? It's kind of like building a house. We built the foundation, and then the characteristics are this. And so we go this way to fix that. And we push this here, we do that there, to kind of build it up to where, because I can't explain to people, you understand it, and Senator is learning about this every day, but to mesh everything together with not only personalities, but people's habits about building cars and what's worked for them in the past. And you take all these different avenues of knowledge and you kind of mesh them all together, and you pick and choose what to do. But so I've been talking to Phil, just about every week over the last couple of weeks after races. Well, we did this, we're going to try this, and to kind of see the progression of the team to get to a point where you can show up like you did Sunday and be the guy, and he dominate pretty much the whole day. And by dominate, that doesn't mean you might not be at the top of the speed chart every lap of every practice, but the drivability is there, the forward drive is there, and you feel like the changes you've made have made you more comfortable in the car and all those things. Because Phil, as we well know, we kind of laugh about it, but he's a man of very few words.
Right.
And he called me during practice, maybe during a break in y'all's practice. I was at my daughter's ball game, and he just said, just letting you know, we're good. I'm happy. The things we did have made a difference. We've got the forward drive we need. Jonathan's happy. We got it,
Yep.
and the kind of the feeling was, if we didn't really have to have good luck per se. We just didn't need anything bad to happen.
Right.
And we felt like the team would be. So my question after wrapping all that up is, how early on in the day did you know that after you're running your laps? Because you mentioned as a driver, you sometimes you feel like you're in the track and you can go where you want to. Sometimes you show up and you're on top of the track and maybe the car's driving you a little bit. So how many laps did it take for you to realize that, everything that you guys as a team had worked on to put you in that position, that if you just didn't have anything bad happen, they were going to have to beat you to win that race?
Right. So this week I knew pretty quick. As a driver, Hermie, you get that feel to where you're comfortable in the car. It feels how you want it to feel. We've had that feeling already throughout the first couple races, but it hasn't stayed in the car the whole time. We've just struggled a little bit with drive. Has been our biggest issue. The car has turned really well. The front suspension geometry is superb. We've just struggled with drive a little bit, but I knew within about 5 laps Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon on old tires, we were going to be really good. I just had the feeling it's the best the car's been so far. And I told my guys, it's, been with me for years. As soon as I got in the car, and I said, now that thing feels like my race car. It's the best it's ever been. And the thing is, we've been creeping up on little changes and making it better week in, week out. And I say this, but we've been fast every week. Everywhere we went, we've been fast. We've just needed a little more and a little more. And I'm extremely picky when it comes to how my race car handles. And a lot of that is good and bad. As a driver, I almost wish I knew nothing about the car. I could tell you it's tight, it's loose, no side bite, whatever. But instead, I have this brain going all the time saying, well, it needs this or it needs that if we change this. And to where I'm the driver, not the crew chief on this deal, if they make a call in my brain, I already know what it's going to do. So it may or may not be the call I would make, but I go with it because those guys obviously are smart. So I go with it. So they do things different than I do, but we have meshed very well together. And I'm going to say the past 3 weeks, we've really come together, hammered down, really fine-tune what they do and making it work with what I want as a driver, the way I would do things. And, this week, all the stars aligned, everything just worked out good. And obviously was able to get that win, but it's important to me to win, don't get me wrong. But more importantly is I've got the feeling in the car now that I want. I'm confident now that we can take the car anywhere and win with it. Not just run good on new tires, but run good the whole time. So for me, that's big. I hate we have 11 weeks off now. I would like to continue racing since I know we've got the car where it needs to be. But Phil and I, we're happy for everybody. We're really happy for you guys to get you a win so fast. But Phil and I talked Monday morning, and we're both already thinking of things to make it even better. And that's just how his brain is. That guy, he does this 7 days a week. I'm not kidding. He really does. And obviously I work another job. I don't work on race cars all the time, but my brain is constantly thinking of ways to do things different or better. At 10 minutes after 4 this morning, I had to roll over and draw a note on my hand. I got my ink pen out and drew a note on my hand so that I wouldn't forget it because I had an idea. This stuff just comes out of nowhere. But so sometimes I wish I almost didn't even know anything about it. But at the same time, I think it's good that me and Phil work so good together. He has all the technology for us to try this stuff, build us anything we want to try. And, man, the sky's the limit. I mean, Matt showed up and won 3 races this year. And anytime he shows up, everybody says we're running for second. Well, I got told by multiple people Sunday that they were all racing for second. And, that's a pretty good feeling, but I want everybody to say that every time we pull in. I want that to be the car that they fear. And, we're definitely working towards that.
And you talk about Phil and Neil. I mean, they do such a great job at PSR. Hermie got them together when we actually put Hermie in an open wheel modified for the first time. You remember that. And rented the car from them and had a great time. And that's when we met you. That's when Hermie met you. But you brought your own crew also to Sadler-Stanley Racing. Some great bunch of guys, a great bunch of characters who probably are the men in the back, but yet have such an integral part of your success, this team's success, and really a part of that success in the future. And I notice they will follow you anywhere, which, that's a high sign of friendship and loyalty. And I was listening on a headset, which Phil gave me, and I noticed one of those guys.
He didn't give you one with a push button to talk, did he?
He actually did, but he said if I touched the button, he would come up there and rip my throat out or something like that. And I didn't. I was really good about not doing it until they started making fun of me halfway through the race. There was like some asphalt came up, there was a pothole, and they started blaming me as a state senator for causing this, that I wasn't putting enough appropriated money.
Not putting
to
enough
fix
money in infrastructure in Franklin County.
And I reminded him it was a state issue. I mean, a local issue, not a state issue. And anything with Whitey Taylor, anything goes. It's Whitey's problem. But one thing I noticed is that Tony, your spotter, really kind of talks you through. And for a guy that's never listened to it like me before, but the interaction between the two of you, there's a lot going on. He's talking a lot. But halfway through the race, if I was in the car, it was almost soothing the way that he was talking. Would you agree with that? Not only just talk about Tony, let's talk about the rest of your crew. Casey, the Wild Man, Gabriel, everybody. Give us kind of a personality test on who that crew is that so loyally, faithfully follows you around and does such a great job for us at Sadler-Stanley.
Right. So Tony has actually we've worked together since 2009. He's been with me full time since 2012. And, he's got a very impressive resume as a spotter. He worked for Dale Earnhardt Sr. for a long time. And, he's got a really broad background in racing. But he's been my spotter full time since 2012. And, Hermie can tell you it's important to have someone on the other side of that radio that you trust. If he makes a call, I don't think twice about it. I make the move if I need to. And that's important because you get guys – on the radio that are fans. They get pumped up with the racing action, things like that. Tony's not. I'm not going to say he's monotone, but he doesn't get excited because, I'm going to feed off his emotion. If he gets excited or worried, I'm going to get the same feeling inside the car. So he does a good job at keeping me calm and, letting me know when to run it hard, when to, preserve tires. So that's a really important relationship having Tony there on the other end of the radio with me. And like you said, Gabriel, Casey, Timothy, Tim, Mike, all those guys, everybody has a role. And when we first talked about putting this deal together, I told the guys, look, there's pit stops involved. It doesn't matter how good Neil does his job or Phil does his job, building the cars, setting the cars up, how good I do my job, how good Tony is. Everybody's role is equally as important. You have to hit these pit stops. The car has to, get in and out safely and timely. And so far, they've done a great job. We have not lost any positions on pit road. We have actually gained some. So these guys have really been working hard to make sure they get us in and out as fast as possible every week. And, it's just so much fun. We're used to the Bowman Gray racing. There's really no pit stops, nothing like that. With the Smart Tour, they have with the live pit stop, it's just an added bonus for the fans. It kind of throws a wrench in your plan as far as who takes their tires when, and just adds some strategy to the deal. And it's just a whole lot of fun. And myself and all the guys, we just love it. Really love it.
Jonathan, you mentioned Bowman Gray. I want to ask you about that in a moment, but heartfelt and personal for me, congratulations on, and thank you also for getting the first ever win. We hope there'll be many more, but the first one is always special. And I know you've won plenty of races through the years and different kinds of racing, but this is a new thing for us. It's a new team. It's a new venture. It's new friendships. It's new partnerships. It's new, all of that. And so congratulations and thank you for the work that you've put in on and off the racetrack to get us our first win in this partnership with Senator Stanley and I. But you mentioned Bowman Gray. So now we get I think you said 11-week break on the Smart Tour. And
11 weeks? That long?
That long.
No racing?
You head over to Bowman Gray. So are you ready for Bowman Gray, and how important is it for you to have this little bit of momentum you have winning this race at Franklin County as you start dicing it up over at Bowman Gray?
Right. So, we'll be racing a lot of the same guys from the tour and obviously some other regulars from Bowman Gray. Bowman Gray is an entirely different animal. Same car pretty much, different engine package, different rear end package, smaller tires, it's just a whole different animal. But it's good racing. It's really good entertainment, but it's pretty good racing too. We are getting ready. So I have the car that I raced last year. It's together. It's ready to go. We actually have PSR Products has built us a new car. It is ready to go. We're waiting on an engine. Phil has actually went above and beyond and is trying to get one of his engines together for me to be able to have an engine for the new car for their first race, because it's not looking like the parts are going to be here for my new engine. So with all that being said, I will be there one way or the other. We have 17 weeks of racing there. We start off with the Hayes Jewelers 200 lap race. We're the defending winners of that from last year. And that will be on April 23rd. So just about 10 days away, 11 days away. And just a whole different animal than the Smart Tour.
Hey, so when y'all fight over there, earlier today, Senator Stanley and I had a little bit of a conversation about the Xfinity race at Martinsville and the Ty Gibbs and the Sam Mayer. And I just got tickled with people saying you have to take your helmet off, or you have to do this, have to do that. So in Jonathan Brown's world, what is the proper etiquette when you're trying to go kick somebody's ass? Do you just go do it, or do you have to take your helmet off, or do you take the other guy's helmet off for him? Or, what is, because y'all are professional fighters over there. So how do you view the Ty Dillon situation, and what would you have done differently?
Yeah, what's the proper etiquette when you're going to whoop some ass?
Right. So first off, I will tell you from experience, get that helmet off. I was at a go-kart race one night, and we come across the scales, and about the time I come off the scale, a guy drugged me off my go-kart by my helmet. And there was about 6 of them that beat and kicked and whatever else to me, because I couldn't do anything, because your body's going to go wherever your head goes. And one guy had a hold of my helmet that was strapped to my head. So I don't want that helmet on. I'm going to get that thing off. I've been in a few little tussles there at Bowman Gray. I actually wear a pretty big scar across my butt because of a fight there at Bowman Gray.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Story time.
Yeah.
How did that happen? And maybe I'm going to regret this, but how did that happen?
So it was years ago. It's before I started racing modifieds. I had kind of got into it on the track with a guy, and he thought I wrecked him, and I thought I was just past him. Long story short, he waited and tried to wreck me, and he missed. And as I would come off the track, his crew was jumping in my car. Now, I was only about 17, 18 at the time. And as I get out of the car, they're hitting me. And one of the guys, who is a block mason, he's a huge, really strong guy, picks me up and throws me over my car onto the hood of another car. And then he walks over and grabs me by the ankle and drags me off that car. As he drags me off, the hood pin hooked my suit. And so I got about a 7-inch scar across my butt from that hood pin. So It cut into me pretty good there. Yeah.
It was the driver's name, or that guy's name, Kane? Sounds like a wrestling move.
He was pretty close to Kane's size. Yeah, he was a big guy.
Now wait a minute. Wait a minute, Hermie. Wait. Now there's another famous
Billy Rose. I got a follow-up question.
All right, Hermie Rose.
So if you're Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer comes by like a bulldozer, running for $100,000, and just kind of, runs you over, does all that, and if you get out after the race is over and you're Ty Gibbs and you're walking over to Sam Mayer to have a conversation with him, if that's you, you would have taken your helmet off before you went over there. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Because your body will go wherever your head goes. And if someone gets a hold of that helmet, you're going to go wherever it goes. So get that helmet off so you can be aware of your surroundings.
You also can get punched in the face that way, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I would rather be able to take a hit and move than just be held down by my helmet. You lose all your situational awareness with that helmet on.
Yeah. I lost all that a long time ago. Anyway.
Well, and I think
William, go ahead with your next question.
Well, and now to feed off that, your your peripheral vision is not as wide as it would be without the helmet too. So you could be getting it from the right hand side and not see it coming with that helmet on. So I tend to agree with you. But I remember on YouTube, and we've actually put it on your hero card, and I hope you don't mind because it's a great picture. But you got into it with Jason Myers, who's also in the Smart Series with his brother Bert, and it's on YouTube. And it's got like 500,000 views or something, even more maybe than that. And it's with you guys getting into it at Bowman Gray, and then in the end, the picture that we have on a hero card, you come out to the Smart Tour. Jonathan will sign that for you on the back. Is you're being, I know you wanted to keep going, and these two police officers they weren't arresting you; they were just kind of pulling you away from the scene to stop the melee. Talk about that one. That seems to be one of your famous interactions with one of the Myers brothers.
That was a wild night. That was a wild night. I learned what trending on Twitter meant that day there. They called me from some show, I don't remember what it was, wanting my comments, and said I was trending on Twitter. Had no idea what that meant. Yeah, that was a wild night. We were racing. Racing for a good purse that night. I would have left there with a points lead. We had two weeks left in the season. I would have left the points lead. The 4-car, his brother, him and I myself and Bert was racing for the points, and I would have left that night with a point lead. And Bert's brother decided to wait on me and wreck me. This classic Bowman Gray move. And, it just kind of turned into a demolition derby after that.
Yeah.
And it was foolish. It cost me a lot of money. It cost me a fine from NASCAR, a week suspension.
So just so people who hadn't seen it, what cost you a lot of money?
So I did almost $9,000 of the damage to my car. I lost a sponsor over that deal. I got a $1,000 fine from NASCAR.
So after he wrecked you or waited for you and wrecked you, what did you do after that?
So he spun me. I backed into the wall, and then he pulled into me. He hit me. So I spun around and hit him head on.
Had y'all had any history early that night or anything?
Yeah, so we had an incident in 2012. We got into it on the track, and I ended up pushing him into the barrel after the race and with my car. And again in 2018, we got in a deal, and I stood on top of my car, and there's no love lost there. So there's a lot built up to that. I talked to all the racers, including Bert, and I talked to everybody except for that guy. I don't really. My mom taught me a long time ago, if you don't have anything nice to say, it's best not to say anything at all. So I try to steer clear because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. That's the one thing in my life I'm having trouble letting go. I can let a lot of things go, and I forgive people, but I'm struggling with that one. And I feel like it's because I never got to punch him in the nose. There's no closure. Maybe if those cops would just let me get a hold of him that night,
one time,
it'd have been over.
Yeah,
just one time.
One time,
it'd have been over. But
we can call Jeff Jarrett back.
Yeah,
Senator, and
maybe set up something in the ring.
Put a little something together, and you get a pay-per-view crowd, and we can make a payday out of it.
I'll sign.
Just let you guys rock and roll. So
yes, sir. I'll
JB
sign.
from the top rope.
If Jason Myers happens to tune into the podcast, why not just set a ring up maybe at a racetrack one night, and when the race is over, or before the race, or during intermission, or whatever, just let it go, and whatever happens, and get in the cars and race. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I'm good with it. Sign me up.
Hermie's always the innovator in this partnership we have. He's always coming up with, he's the idea man. He's got something going.
What's innovative about having a guy that has an issue with another guy and wants closure on it? You put a ring out there. I'm not trying to be like Don King, but we don't even need a ring. We could just put some tape around 4 trash cans and do it that way. It doesn't make any difference.
Burning barrels at each corner.
Just the elevator.
Yeah. Oh, hey. But we got to film it and make money off it, right? It's got to be, part of the ticket sales. But that's,
okay,
look,
however,
and if anybody wants to look it up, you go to YouTube and you type in Jonathan Brown, Bowman Gray fight. or Jason Myers, Jonathan Brown, and you'll see a number of different camera angles, and it's fun. But that's the fun spot about racing, especially. Look, you're not doing it for the money. You have a real job. You are a tree man, and you're great at it. You're doing this because it's passionate to you, right? I mean, you're doing this because you love it. You love the thrill of the chase and that feeling of victory, man. And that's what real racing's all about. It's not this corporatized racing sometimes we see with NASCAR at the Cup Series. It's what we see in open wheel modified, and you bring that passion to the track every week, man. And I got to tell you, my family's just fired up and has that same passion that you have when we watch you going around in circles in the Sadler-Stanley 22 when you're turning left, and we see it on the track, and I can't tell you enough personally how much that means to us to be our race car driver. You're there as long as you want to be. I know Hermie feels the same way,
Jonathan,
and it's great.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I'm sure you already know this, but just to make sure I get it on the record. The people that don't like you and are already pissed off at you driving for Senator Stanley and I and winning races for us is going to piss them off that much more. So,
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
look, congratulations again,
listen,
man.
You've made winners of us all. I feel like a winner. I'm wearing my glasses, my shades. I look cool.
Jonathan, we're going to let you get back to work, but we wanted to get you back on it. We'll never have another first win, as a team with this group. We want to get you on the podcast to thank you, congratulate you and the team. We're kind of sad we got a little break too, but we'll take this break to get better.
That's right.
And work on our stuff, and because we now know people are going to be coming after us even more when we get back on the track. We want to be prepared for that. But thanks for all you do. Congratulations on a great day, and congratulations on that first trophy, Senator.
Yeah, no, and Jonathan, again, I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. We have such a great feeling about what we're doing and doing it together, doing it for the right reasons. This is driving with a passion and a purpose, and you are the best pilot to carry both of those into the racetrack and around the racetrack to victory lane. So I can't thank you enough. Actually, my son, as you know, young Chandler, he wears our Sadler-Stanley merch, but then he wears a Bobby Labonte hat. And he brought his best friend, Lewis, to the race in Franklin County. And you met Lewis. He was in one of the pictures.
Yep.
And Lewis said, nope, I'm rooting for the 22 from the beginning. And he converted my son away from Bobby Labonte. So now
I saw them Victory Lane pictures. He had the right hat on.
Yeah, it's Jonathan Brown first. So thank you for doing that, my friend. It's kept the conflict down in my house.
Yeah, good.
Because Bobby loves the fact that Chandler picks him first and our team second.
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
Listen, you're solving problems in my family, brother.
Yeah,
I owe you one there, bud.
Glad I could help.
And you're so great with the
Jonathan,
kids and everybody. You're so great with the fans. Really appreciate that too. It's going to be a horrible 11 weeks, but we're going to be watching you right there on Bowman Gray. Hopefully we'll come down and cheer you on. And also too, when we get back to racing, we're going to have some great Jonathan Brown T-shirts with the Sadler-Stanley 22 on it. Can't wait. So if you need some, you want some, and you're going to want some of that merchandise, you just give us a call. We'll send it right out to you. So great. Best of luck to you in Bowman Gray. If you need a lawyer at any point in time during that race series, you call the man. And make sure Casey sends me his traffic ticket, okay?
Great possibility that I will.
All right. Well, you got a lawyer, brother.
Thank y'all so much for everything. The first win for Sadler-Stanley Racing is pretty cool. I'm glad we got it at a Virginia-based track right there in your backyards. That was even cooler.
Yep.
Track I'd never won at, so added another one to the list. It's pretty awesome, and I look forward to racking up 5 or 6 more wins this season.
Well, appreciate you being on. Thanks for being on the team, and we'll get you on after your next win, which we hope is not going to be too far down the road. That's Jonathan Brown, driver of the Sadler-Stanley Smart Modified Tour. Big win at Franklin County.
Huge. Go get him, JB, at Bowman Gray. Go get yourself a championship. Come on back.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, brother.
This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic. We'll be right back with Chris Rice.
Time to tell you about something I'm super passionate about: protecting your family. Yes, this is a life insurance ad for GoliathLife.com, but to me, this is really about peace of mind. Think about insurance for a second. We all get medical and auto insurance, yet we never even know if we're going to have a need for it. Let me let you in on a little secret. You need life insurance. We're all going to die. Now, as you let that reality sink in, think about what would happen if your family stopped having your income tomorrow. If you don't have a plan for that, you need to visit GoliathLife.com. And I mean right now. And just personally, I've lost 2 friends in their 40s this past year and a half, and I don't even want to think about what their families would be going through had they not had life insurance. If you don't have it, get it. Protect your family. And I suggest you go to GoliathLife.com because they've made the process of getting affordable life insurance super easy. Goliath Life streamlines the life insurance process by allowing you to get quotes from more than 20 carriers within minutes. And you'll pick your terms and payments to fit your budget. You pick your price, you start the online application immediately, and even schedule the medical exam to come to you. And I've done it. They sent someone to my office. I skipped the phone calls, the paperwork, and the crazy invasive conversations. Goliath Life makes buying life insurance simple. There's no hidden fees, no upsells, no hassle, hell, not even a phone call. Goliath Life is life insurance in your hands on your time. Get multiple quick quotes right now from the comfort of your own home and begin your application in a few easy clicks right now at GoliathLife.com.
Hey, this is Bill Stanley, Hermie Sadler sidekick on this podcast. But when I'm not in Richmond at the Capitol or doing this podcast, my real job for the past 27 years is as a trial attorney with the Stanley Law Group. Here at the Stanley Law Group, we represent our clients in every courthouse in the Commonwealth. No problem is too small for us to solve. No case is too big for us to win. Whether it's criminal charges, traffic offenses, civil disputes, litigation matters of any sort, we handle it all. We make sure we treat every client like family because they are to us. Your problem is our problem. Your success is our success because we hate to lose more than we love to win. And believe me, we win a lot. Don't believe me? Go ask Hermie. I'm his favorite lawyer. Give us a call at 540-721-6028 and let us help you. Or visit our website at www.vastanleylawgroup.com. At the Stanley Law Group, we'll make sure that we are the lawyers that you swear by and not at. Welcome back. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. I ain't turning left. I'm leaning right.
And I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left. This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Pace O Matic, great sponsor. Great sponsor on our 22 car as well. They do a wonderful job for our small businesses. They do a wonderful job for our communities, skill games. They're a responsible partner in the skill game effort that we've had ongoing with the lawsuit that we've been successful so far against the Commonwealth of Virginia, the governor. Our next guest may or may not know that Hermie Sadler, little Hermie Sadler, takes on the most powerful people in the Commonwealth of Virginia and wins, because that's who Hermie Sadler is. So why don't you introduce us to this great person? Again, your Rolodex is paying off. Who do we have now?
Look, I went to the bottom of the barrel today to get our guest for the podcast. You know, I went through all the important people, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't know any more of the alphabet. Got all the way down to the R.
You're not going to do well if you drink and drive, so don't drink and drive.
But look, all joking aside, Chris Rice is our guest, and I got to tell you, Chris and his family have been so instrumental in mine and my brother's racing careers. I've known their family for over 30 years now, and we'll tell some stories because myself and then my brother, we spent a lot of time living in the Rice household up in beautiful downtown Cluster Springs, Virginia, right outside of South Boston. But today, Chris Rice is the man in charge at Kaulig Racing. And as I said before, Bill, Kaulig Racing for the last probably 3 years has been, if not one of the breakout organizations in all of NASCAR racing, especially at the Xfinity Series level and now with the Cup Series level. And Chris, I never have told you this, but I'll tell you now to start off this segment. Really proud of you and the person that you've become and the leader that you are at Kaulig Racing. And congratulations on the success that you guys are having on the track. And I'll let you be the one to admit or say that the reason you're having all this success is for all the years you spent with me. So the floor is yours, Mr. Rice.
Well,
thank you, Hermie, and nice to meet you, Mr. Stanley.
Nice to meet you.
And you just gave me cold chills. Almost made me cry a little bit, And I do a lot of, I don't know if you call it motivational speaking now, and I give a lot of credit to the Sadler family. I really do. You actually took a chance on me. I don't know, 176 years ago, I believe, but and gave me a shot and taught me the way and taught me, every experience that I have throughout my racing career has gotten me to where I'm at. Yourself, we spent a lot of nights wondering how to beat Barry Begley and all of those guys back in the day, Wayne Patterson, all those guys that live in Virginia. And I think back on that, and I don't even know how to do it. I actually honestly do have cold chills. I think back on that a lot. I turned 48 years old yesterday, and I told somebody at my surprise birthday party my wife put together with about 10 or 12 of our closest friends that live close to me. And it's just amazing the journey I've had over the last 4 years that has become because of all of my learning that I did before them 4 years. It didn't just happen overnight. I spent many days and nights driving up, driving places, driving to Emporia, driving to Charlotte, driving places and running last. I mean, just kind of like what we did at Martinsville this past weekend. And every episode or everything I did made me to where we're at today. But the start with your dad, you, Elliott, all the hard learning that I did with Hermie Sadler.
Yeah.
It gets me to where I'm at today. And I want to tell this story. I remember.
Hey, did my dad ever pull the glasses down like this?
Oh, my
bridge
goodness.
of his nose and give you a little talking to?
He did. And this is the amazing story. So Hermie had won 700 late model races. He had won a lot of races. He went on Xfinity racing, and I got out of college and I came back to crew chief Elliott Sadler, his brother, and we go to Richmond. Hermie was gracious enough to give us one of his old cars sitting around. Said, y'all can run this car this year. We run it to South Boston. Elliott spun out the guy for the win and about got killed. Then we went to Richmond. And I don't know if you remember this, Hermie. It was 60-some, 70-some cars. Elliott spun out his first lap. He made the race on his second lap, and we finished 13th. We
and let me tell you what I remember. Y'all were hillbillied in the front. I remember that.
We were hillbillied in the front. That was the only two springs we had. And the only reason we put them in that way is because we felt like that's what we needed to do. We didn't know why we did it. We just felt like we needed to. And we couldn't get the car loaded up after the race. And we still had the late model car to run that Sunday or where it was. And we were going for the championship, for the big championship. And we could not get the car loaded up to save my life. And we get done, finally get the car loaded up. And I lived in Hermie's old roof. I mean, he had moved out or whatever. And so I got up going to the shop to get our late model car ready. And Herman Jr.'s coming down the road, dry bread road. I won't never forget it. And he's pointing, pull over. He pulls me over to the side of the road. And he gets out that car, and I will get out of the car, and I go back there, and he pulls them glasses down. He had a cap on, pulled that cap up. And I mean, he laid into me, told me we looked like a bunch of idiots. I mean, every word you can think of. He never cussed. I will tell you that. He never once cussed. But everything you can think of. We looked like a bunch of heel jacks. Don't even know why we was at the racetrack. That and the other. I think I'm going to just shut it all down. He gets in his car and leaves. And I'm like, I'm still standing on the side of the road. I'm like, what in the hell just happened? Like, I don't even know what just happened.
That was a motivational speech.
I'm like, what just happened? So Elliott sleeps another 5 hours, and he finally gets up. We go load up the late model car. I told him, I said, hey, man, he's shutting this deal down. I mean, we're about to win the biggest championship you can win, South Boston Speedway, about to win the Mid-Atlantic Championship. And we go and win South Boston that weekend. And Monday morning, he always wanted to talk to us, probably in the office. Hermie's sitting in right now, probably. He brought us up, and he goes, y'all boys are smart. Y'all some of the smartest boys I ever seen. I don't know what Hermie and them up there doing. We're going to have to talk about them, but you boys are smart. Y'all just keep doing what you're doing. I said, I will be damned. What just happened? I can't even understand. I went from the race team's gone to now we smart and we got to go talk to Hermie.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
He used to vent about me to you and Elliott and would vent to y'all about me. But my dad was always supportive and meant well and gave us all really the opportunities to get started in racing. But I want to get Senator in here. But Chris, for those that don't know you, of course, I had the pleasure of knowing you and your whole family. So tell us and our listeners and viewers about your family, your dad and your uncle and your mom, and tell everybody, about you and your family's history in racing.
Well, Hermie Sadler was the only man to ever introduce me to Abraham Lincoln, so I did get to meet him.
Me too.
Well, the story to that is, Bill, I am 52 years old, and my one and only ever fist fight happened because of Chris Rice at Steve's American Cafe in South Boston in probably 1991.
What happened?
We don't need to talk about what happened, Hermie. Today it just happened.
It probably had. Look, Chris, what you got to remember: the statute of limitations has now passed.
True.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
And I'm sure your wife don't listen to this show like my wife don't listen to it.
Right,
but
by the power
Bill,
granted, to me by the Commonwealth of Virginia, I grant you both immunity, legal and otherwise, to talk about this issue if you feel good about it.
I live in North Carolina. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
Sure.
That probably had something to do, I don't remember exactly, something to do with Chris was probably at Steve's American Cafe talking to somebody else's girlfriend, if I had to guess.
But I don't understand why you were the one walking out with her.
I was walking out with him. That was the problem.
Well, no, you were walking out.
So, Bill, ultimately, me and Chris are never going to agree as to why we had this altercation. But this gentleman who had an Abraham Lincoln beard, no mustache but a beard, at the time I'm early, maybe 20, 21. This cat's probably 35. And he's 3 times big as I am, and he's got a rough crowd with him. And we agreed that we were going outside to settle our differences, or at least have a conversation. So I'm walking through Steve's American Cafe in South Boston. This gentleman's behind me, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be bad. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. And you walk out in front of Steve's American Cafe, there was like a vestibule where you had to walk through one door to get kind of the vestibule, then walk to another door to get outside. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The only thing I could think of was I pushed the second door open, and I thought to myself, my best shot and my only shot is to turn around and hit this dude while he's got his hands on the door coming out. So I pushed the swinging door, and I gave it about 2 seconds. And about time he put his hands on the door, when he was fistless, I punched him.
Where?
In the face.
Was it Ty Gibbs kind of style, 1-1? Boom, boom? Or
yeah,
was
but
it
except, no, I hit and ran like a little girl.
Oh.
I was going he went and got in his car and left. Guess who he left there?
Elliott. No?
Me.
Did you have to
He left
finish?
me there.
Chris, we could have gone this whole podcast and not talked about that.
Well, let me go and tell you about my family. The only reason he's in South Boston because of my great mom and dad. My mom ran South Boston Speedway for 30 plus years. Just retired last year, Kathy Rice, which is an amazing woman. Did a bunch of amazing stuff at South Boston Speedway. My dad built race cars for 30 years, and we ended up selling his business. He's retired. Both of them are retired. I've been in racing all my life. My uncle drove. Just been in NASCAR. I've done a little bit of everything, and I kind of made it. I was with Jeff Burton. My dad was with Jeff Burton, and just a little kid. And then Hermie came along, decided to go Xfinity racing, or back then it was Busch racing, for Don Beverly. We had run late model races, and he had his car in Cluster Springs, and then he actually hired a guy by the name of Morris Johnson, really good guy, very smart move. Took the car back to Emporia, and I told him, I said, well, I still want to help you. So I did, and we ran late model races, and I drove back and forth to Emporia, helped him. And then he's going Busch racing. I will never forget it. It was probably, I don't know when that first race was, February 10th, 14th, whatever it was. he calls me and goes, "Hey, I don't have a spotter. I need you to go spot for me." I'm like, "Where?" He said, "Daytona." I said, "Dude, Daytona like International Speedway?" Like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm in college at this time, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll go do that. I flew on one of the first times I ever flew, not private, but on commercial plane. Hermie put me on a commercial plane, flew down to Daytona. He had an Oldsmobile. It was like an Oldsmobile. I think it wasn't a Cutlass. What was it? Oldsmobile?
It was a Cutlass.
Was Cutlass, okay, and it had the old bubble back window. Hermie was actually running, I don't know, top 10 at the time, running really fast. They come off the turn 2. That bi-spot tires in. He gets really, really loose. Dude, I can't see the car. Don't even know what it looks like. I said, "Clear." He never checked up. He turns right, gets up in there. I want to say he finished 10th first race or something. Finished top 10.
Yeah.
I went on to spot. We went on to win the Rookie of the Year in 1993. We won a couple races. And
Chris and I have rode up and down the road so many times, so many places. We drove to the majority of the races back in those days. And
his daddy had a van decaled up like the race car. So we rode in this van decaled up like the race car up and down the road. It was like, how could you get more publicity than that, man? Running people off the road, looking for what's the name of them and all that.
What's the name of them? Now, so it had Sadler Brothers oil on it, right? I mean, he was getting that kind of advertising too, wasn't he?
It was always good to advertise until it was not a good time to advertise.
Depending on the weekend, his mood.
Chris and I didn't always make good decisions,
Yeah.
Whether it be on the racetrack or otherwise.
God, we need a 2-hour special of this podcast, guys. I mean, we need to actually unpack this.
It led us both to being the high esteemed gentlemen that we are, these days.
Yeah.
I got one serious question, Chris. One of the favorite members of your family was your Uncle Earl, and bless his heart, he's no longer with us. But I got to tell you, he was not only smart, and actually he drove some back in the day too, is my understanding.
Yeah.
But did he ever take a drink or no?
Well, Uncle Earl, and Uncle Earl is probably why we got racing, because he owned a service station. He had enough money to have a race car. And everybody knows you got to have some money to get a race car. It's not, they just don't show up. And I got a gift last night. It was Jack Daniels. And it may remind me of
Jack Daniels, if you please.
Yeah, Jack Daniels, Sinatra Jack Daniels. I collect bourbon. I do not drink it. I collect it. So I got Pappy.
So Earl collected it too, or did he drink it?
Earl collected it in his belly. He loved him some brown liquor. Evan Williams or Jack Daniels, one of the two. Earl would drink some liquor in a minute. And I think he turned her on to the brown liquor. I don't think Hermie ever had brown liquor until he met Uncle Earl.
I used to love, we would show up at the race shop Saturday morning, getting prepared to get loaded up to go to South Boston, and I'm on the chip ready to go. Chris is on the chip ready to go. Chris's dad, Alan, was on the chip loaded up, and Earl sitting over there on the bucket, just taking him a little sip, like don't know why we're all so jacked up. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and it's gonna be fine. But your dad and your uncle, A&E race cars was well known throughout the Mid-Atlantic, built a lot of winning race cars, including the car that Elliott won. What did he win? 12 in a row at South Boston that year.
We won 16 in a row, but we got disqualified that one of them, and you ended up winning it. So Sadler brought home 16 wins in a row, is what we actually ended up bringing home that year.
Wow.
The Emporia group, which we were not well liked.
Will you tell Senator Stanley, because Elliott was on a previous podcast, speaking of the race that I ended up winning because y'all had issues in the tech barn. Elliott tried to tell Senator Stanley that I purposely wrecked Stacy Compton to help y'all.
Well, I don't know that you purposely wrecked him. I think you were getting hungry and you were ready to get out the car, and it was like you needed a caution so you could take a break. I don't know that you purposely wrecked him. You just needed a break. I mean, you were like, you didn't have a bush race that weekend, so I don't even know why we decided to let you come run, because we knew that was not a good idea. We knew it was dumb. right? Like it was not smart, but I can see Herman Jr. now pulling down his glasses going, hey, we're going to run Hermie this weekend. You don't ask him why, you just say, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if Hermie gets impatient, then it's on. I mean, when he's ready to go, he's ready to go. So he might have been hungry. That's a true story.
I will say, from that particular race weekend, and that is probably one of the turning moments for Elliott Sadler. Elliott was very passionate about what he did, whether it was racing, women, whether it was going not to college, going to play basketball, doing anything. He was very passionate about it, right? And so he was passionate about his race cars, and he brotherly love with Hermie and him. He always wanted to outdo him. But that weekend made Elliott realize that, hey, like I got good stuff. I got good cars. I need to make sure that I continuously work hard at doing this. And I think that was a turning weekend because I believe you out qualified him that weekend also. I think you sat on the pole. He sat on the outside pole. And he ended up winning the race because obviously he had been racing all year. But I would say that was a turning weekend for him.
Well, I got the trophy, just so you know.
We got the trophy.
He didn't end up winning the one car got the trophy.
We just taped up the 6.
That's right. Y'all probably already had it pre-engraved with 16 on it. Y'all had to cover the 6 up.
The reason they threw us out is because you snitched on us. You snitched on Elliott. Yeah, you told him he's got the illegal motor. I got the legal motor because they didn't want me to win.
That's a good move on my part.
Yeah, that was a good move. Is that what happened?
Speaking of that, we can't say this. I just want to know, do you remember when I spent all those nights at your house? We used to live in a single wide trailer. Is that true?
That is true. 100% true.
Single wide trailer, but 8 people in a 2-bedroom single wide trailer. And we had more fun than anybody could ever imagine.
Yep.
But every morning when Alan walked down the hall,
you gonna cut this out?
We're not gonna. He stuck his head in the door, and I'll just say the first part of it. He said, "Y'all boys," and I'll forget the rest of it. But he asked us the same question
every day.
Every day.
Every day.
And I got tickled on it when you said I snitched on you. It kind of made me think, kind of close. But Alan had a very important question for 2 young men that he asked every single morning when he walked down the hall.
Every day, my dad would ask the same question. And the problem is, Bill, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have turned it off, messed up my light. The problem is that we always had an answer for him. That was the problem. It was either I would give my answer, Hermie would give my answer, or whoever else was in there would give my answer. But,
because I think your dad was trying to live through us in a certain way. He wanted to hear the stories.
Yeah. And I haven't listened to you guys' podcast, so I'm going to listen to it now. But I'll tell you, the history of racing in Virginia goes deeper than people will ever know, right? Like one day I want to come back to Virginia and talk to all the schools and talk about that. That was something Hermie did with Virginia's for Lovers and how we met a lot of the most amazing people we ever met. He would go to schools and talk about why you shouldn't drink and drive, why you should wear your seatbelt, why you should do different things. And, the state of Virginia spent a lot of money and a lot of time throughout the early 90s getting that out there. So, I met a lot of great people in Emporia. And we used to go play this card game.
How did you say it? Employer or employee?
It's employee. I mean, employer. Employee.
It's really Emporia, but you can say employee if you want to.
I don't know what it is. I just know that I used to come there all the time and eat. What was the name of that restaurant I used to eat at?
Johnny's New York restaurant?
No, that's where you get veal cutlet.
Johnny's had the veal cutlet. Where else did you go?
What was that lunchroom?
At Dr. Anderson's at the Anderson's Pharmacy?
Not the lady owned it.
Yeah, I can't think of her name. We can't pause. I'll come back to it.
Yeah. But anyway, so we used to go, I got introduced to how to play cards, like poker. Like
Norma Jean,
yeah.
Norma Jean Epps. There you go.
And so I used to go, we used to play this, I don't even know what the game was, but I didn't know that they had their own language in Emporia.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't know 6.
You're talking about playing 1737?
Yeah.
when the one guy said 16 and 30
Yeah.
cents.
I didn't even know they had a different language in Emporia, but I found out really fast.
So how do you compare? Bill, I know you want to get a question.
No.
in. I'm sorry,
I
Chris and
just want to
catching up.
confess something though. I feel like I've illegally wiretapped into a redneck phone call in Emporia. This is like, I'm like, voyeurism is like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Chris, how do you compare the way I talk to your other dear friend, Ward Burton?
I can understand you.
Ward can talk and without moving his mouth. How does he do that?
I've never met somebody that can you carry on an entire conversation with him, and he hadn't moved his mouth yet. Like, I mean, whew. But Ward he's a great person.
Yes.
Everybody talks about the way he talks, and I make a joke about it with him a lot. And the funny part is Ward don't know why he talks like that. Like he doesn't. Ward left his home for a long time and went and lived in a cabin. We had that story on Nutrient Solutions. And he lived off the earth and off the ground and so he
And every time I see him on social media, he's carrying a snake around.
Yeah. Don't grab her by the
like
tail.
snakes.
Grab her by the head. Got a better shot. Won't bite you.
You moving your mouth. If you wasn't moving your mouth, it'd be like, I really like those snakes. Them things really, really take care of the earth. And I like snakes. Uh-huh.
You got me on the
You
Ward
talk
Burton
about
impression.
You've tapped into a redneck conversation.
Telephone
So I've
call.
never showed anybody this. So I will show you guys this. But we built this new shop here at Kaulig Racing. This is the old 31 shop, the old Lowe's shop with Mike Skinner, those guys.
Yep.
We purchased it. It was Jermaine. We done a $2 million renovation. So we felt like that we needed something to entertain, sponsors and people like Bill. If you come down, Hermie, if he comes down, we can live in a single wide trailer. But if you came down, so we built a trophy wall. It's not completely done yet. Built
Gotcha.
a trophy wall.
Got some trophies over there too.
Yeah, we got a lot of trophies. We got a fireplace,
Look at you being all
Fireplace.
fancy.
big TV. So, and we
No
felt
wonder
like
you never call nobody back. You got
Yeah.
people now.
He's big
Well,
time.
hold
here.
on a second. It even gets better. We felt like we needed a boardroom, right? So we needed this
So when
nice.
you get bored, you go down and sit in it.
Yeah, you just go sit in it. But then when you get done with your board calls, we got a bar.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Now
Nice.
you're talking the senator's language.
Yes, save
So-
that seat right over there in the corner for me.
Oh yeah, well, you got a seat. Anytime you want to come down, you got a seat.
Thank you, Chris. I could listen to this all
That's
day if
really,
I want to.
that's really all at Kaulig Racing we need to know. They got a boardroom and a bar in the same room.
Yep.
No, it's in my office.
But that's your office.
This is my office.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Hermie,
You don't turn highfalutin. Look at you.
My office.
it's big timing. Wow.
Look,
highfalutin.
now-
Well, there you go.
Bill, do you want to ask any questions, or are you just going to continue your wiretapping?
I'm just gonna keep the wiretap going. This is great. This should be Turning Left and Chris Rice. I mean, this is a new podcast. You guys are awesome. No,
Hey,
keep
so
going.
tell us about Kaulig Racing. I know you've been there several years, and Matt and his family, and I mean, he's poured his heart and soul, not only financially, but you can tell he loves racing and loves his team and his guys. So how did that race team form? How did it start? How did you get involved? And how much fun do you have in these days?
Oh, and that's why you see me getting my stuff together. We're headed to Jacksonville, Florida to play Saltgrass, TPC Saltgrass with Matt and some other people. But I am having an amazing time. I'm having the time of my life. I'm, like I said, I'm 48 years old. We're having success, which is great. But, Matt called me, I don't know, almost 7 years ago. I met Matt about 7 years ago, 8 years ago coming up. We started the program 6.5 years ago. And he said he wanted to start a race team. And I was like, wow, I did. I said it just like that. And he said, because it's badass. That's exactly what he said. And so we started a race team. Matt is a very smart businessman. So he He has taught me a
tell,
lot.
tell Senator Stanley and our listeners about Matt. What is his business?
So Matt was he was the owner of Leaf Filter Gutter Protection, and he now owns about 50 different companies. But Leaf Filter Gutter Protection, he owned that. They grew it from $350,000 business to a $1.6 billion business. So he's pretty smart. He's a very smart business.
And are you single-handedly responsible for most of that?
2% of it.
2%. Okay.
Yeah, 2%
Two
of
to
that.
2.5.
Yeah.
No, you see him on TV.
Yeah,
He's
just
on the
two.
leaf filter commercial. He's sitting there with the
He's
the
on Leaf
customers
Filter
and
commercial.
yeah, and he's just
Yep.
you can tell he's just as passionate about that, even in the commercial that comes through the TV, as he is in the race team. And it sounds like you do motivational speaking, but between you and him, everybody who's driving for Kaulig right now is so excited. I mean, look at the Dinger. Allmendinger is just reborn. And you make racing exciting again. I mean, it's just the greatest thing to see, especially a young team like that have such early success and be dedicated to the sport.
Well, that's the one thing he tells us. He says, look, if we're not going to have fun, we're not going to do it. Like, Saturday night in the Cup race was not fun. We finished 23rd, 24th, and 31st, some of our worst finishes we've had. But I'm telling you, he believes in having fun. He knows that having fun is key to success. He knows that you got to have teamwork. He knows that things matter within your health and you. So, you have to have fun with him. If you don't have fun, he don't want you around. He doesn't care. He doesn't.
Chris, you're making me dizzy. What the hell are you doing?
I'm getting my stuff so I can get in my car.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going to be talking to you guys while I'm in my car.
Go back 1 second. Because we talked about this earlier. A lot of opinions, a lot of negativity too about the race Saturday night at Martinsville. Not the truck race and not the Xfinity race, but just a Saturday night race, maybe a little more strung out around the racetrack and not as much passing as we are accustomed to seeing at a place like Martinsville. And you should be able to tell us why.
Well, yeah, I definitely can tell you why. The tire was too good. And I know you never hear that from me. You know what I mean?
By too good, mean like not enough fall off?
Not enough fall off. It wouldn't fall off enough. And the cars, we definitely still have work to do. I said this 1,000 times, Hermie, and a lot of shows. I said, we're going to have bad races. We're going to have races that are not good. And so that was one of those races. That was one of the races that was not good. Races that we have to going to get better and better and better in this particular setup and this particular. I mean, whoever thought we would have a green flag pit stop at Martinsville, Virginia? You literally could run into the guy in front of you as hard as you wanted to hit him and couldn't spin him out. And Hermie, it's on the ground way too good. So that's some of the product that we had. I think we'll get that fixed.
Kaulig needs better cell service near this.
Am I back?
We lost
Am
you
I
when
back?
you walked out the door. You're going to have to go back to your palatial estate.
Did you see he had his own private doorway out of his own office? Man, that guy's connected.
I did have my own private doorway.
Check him out.
So the tire's too good, not enough fall off, and a lot of things are new with that race car. The independent rear suspension component of it and shifting. I just could not get used to watching guys trying to shift in and out of the corners at that racetrack. I'm not sure what can be done about that, whether it's a gear thing or transmission adjustment, whatever. It just doesn't. So let me ask you this. What do you think can be done or will be done before y'all go back?
Well, we definitely, I feel like the tire will go back, Hermie. I think that's a must. We'll change the ratios, I'm sure, so the shifting is not doesn't come into factor as easy. With those transmissions, it's pretty easy. It's not an H pattern like you're used to. It's just like just a downshift and a pickup. So that's not that bad. It's just like an IMSA car or something like that. But I think we'll definitely change the tire. Will be the biggest change. I always say if a tire will fall off 2 seconds, you're gonna have great racing. I know Richmond wasn't one of the best races, but it was a lot of comers and goers. And what I mean by that, Denny Hamlin, he was like 10th, 11th with about 15, 20 to go, comes up and wins a race. As a racer, that's great racing, right? That's what you want to see. But as a fan, you want to see more side by side. Atlanta for a fan, Atlanta was amazing race for a fan.
Awesome.
For me as a president, I was scared to death the whole time. But Atlanta was what fans love. Talladega is what fans love. But as a racer, I loved Richmond, how it's comers and goers. And, going back to Martinsville, they'll change the tire. It'll be a different race. Hopefully the weather won't be -6. It'll be a little bit warmer. So the race will be a lot slicker. I mean, because that's the coldest I've ever been at a racetrack. And I've been cold at a racetrack. I was at Atlanta the year that it snowed. I mean, we wasn't out there in it. Me and Hermie was cuddled up together in a hotel room somewhere, but
like a single wide.
It was 3 feet of snow on the
Just
ground,
like
man.
a single wide, right? Back in the day.
Oh, we definitely cuddled, and he always wanted to listen. He always wanted to watch ESPN all night. Dun-na-na, dun-na-na.
I'm glad after all these years and all these things, Chris, that is your fondest memory of me, is wanting to leave the TV on all night.
I feel left out. I mean, I think I'm deprived of this kind of that kind of finishing part of the relationship with Herm, but I don't know that I want to go there. So I'll just listen to your memories.
I can't talk about some of the stuff that I remember. If
I get
that's
it.
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We're good. We're good.
I did have a good one. Him and his wife, Angie. If you want to hear that one.
Let's hear it.
First date they went on. I was with him. So obviously it was a double date. Hermie, Angie, and Chris.
Is that the night when you drove my Bronco through the front yard at the house?
No, that is that night, but I was not driving.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure, because that night we played quarters or something, and you got everybody to pick me, so I couldn't remember how we left the house.
And that's the night Angie chased me back to my house. Is that your recollection?
I will 100% tell you she didn't come back to your house.
She didn't.
No.
Well, what the hell was why were we in such a hurry to get back to the house then?
It was 4 a.m.
Oh, okay. What I do remember about that night was I thought you were driving.
No.
But I remember coming down Mom and Daddy's driveway, running about 80, and I think I hydroplaned or something happened, and I cut through the front yard or got stuck in the front yard. And I remember me and you, I'm not sure who else was there, but we were shoveling mud and sowing grass back in Daddy's front yard like at 5 o'clock in the morning. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. The sun started it started getting light because it was raining. It started getting light. We still trying to put mud back in the holes. Herman Jr. come home and said, "What happened to my yard?" Hermie did it. Hermie did it.
You guys need a show.
I don't know what happened, but I got loose coming down the driveway, Senator. I overcorrected and ended up tearing Daddy's yard all to pieces. And
in your defense, it was a right-hand turn, and you didn't know how to catch it when you turned right.
That's
at
right.
that time.
That's right.
There you go.
Only is the right-hand guy.
Well, no wonder, Hermie, that you snitched on Chris and your brother Elliott, because he snitched on
you. Don't say that
you.
word snitched anymore, because that brings back another funny thing.
Hey, and by the way, we're going to call this part 1 of the interview with Chris Rice. I think we're going to have a 3 or 4 parter by the time we're done. We're going to have to call him back on this show a lot. I cannot wait to meet you,
look,
Chris.
I know you're getting ready to go somewhere, but before you take off, your thoughts on Bristol. I got to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of the dirt on Bristol, but you have to go into every race with with the idea of trying to go take advantage of it. And what are your thoughts on what we'll see this weekend at Bristol?
Well, they definitely have worked on the dirt. The dirt is a different style dirt. I think it's got some calcium in it. Don't quote me on that. We sent Justin Haley up there to run his dirt car a couple weeks ago, right before Richmond, and he said that the racetrack is much more raceable. It's not near as dusty, and the nighttime, as soon as the sun went down, the moisture started coming back to the top, and it got tacky and you could pass, you could do things that that you couldn't do last year. You know, what last year was the same banking from top to bottom. This year's progressive, kind of like what South Boston was for years. So he really thinks that it's going to be very raceable. It's going to be very fun to watch. He says daytime's still going to be a mystery whether it gets dusty or not. So I'm not a fan yet because I like clean stuff. I don't like dirty stuff, but you know, I'm going there this Easter weekend, taking my family with me, and I'm going to spend Easter at Bristol. I never thought I'd spend Easter at Bristol. I've spent a lot of time at Bristol, but I didn't think I'd spend Easter there.
You remember that time we drove to Bristol going up through Lover's Leap, and it was so foggy, running about 4 miles an hour all up through there?
We about died because the road dropped off.
Who was driving that night? Was I driving or you driving?
I was driving that night, and the road dropped off, and I didn't see that the road dropped off, and I was supposed to make a right-hand turn, and we about went off the edge.
You guys need your own sitcom or documentary. I mean, this is...
Senator, you have no idea.
I really didn't. What
all this was about.
I had no idea. I knew that you were excited to see him when you went to Richmond when we ran Ryan Newman in the Wheeling Series. We may show up again, and I hope I get to meet you at that time, and we can sit down and have a laugh. But Hermie's always said how much you mean to him.
Off and the cameras off, and really tell some stories you'll be quite proud of me of, Senator.
I can't wait.
Yeah, but you better turn the recording off because that might get. Then he might not better save us.
Yeah, well, remember, I'm a lawyer, so that's my part-time job, not just the senator stuff. So everything is attorney-client privilege. What Hermie does is he throws $1 at me and then says, well, what happened was, how do you say that every time?
What had happened was, hey, Chris, safe travels this weekend.
Yep, hit him well, hit him straight.
Matt and the team, we said hello. We would like to get you on another time when you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and follow up on your season that you guys are having, and really do, man, really appreciate you and happy to see the success you're having. Keep getting those trophies. I appreciate your relationship with Elliott through his esports group. That's been a lot of fun as well, and good luck this weekend. He gone.
Hey, well,
oh, there he is.
Well, am I back? Am I back?
Back good enough. Safe travels, Chris. I think Hermie.
I got a button that's doing this to him. He doesn't know it.
I think you've turned on a scrambler to prevent this from going any further.
I want to shut him up. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you always amaze me.
Sign off, Chris. Bill,
bye,
this
Chris.
has been a fun one.
Oh, man.
Glad to have Chris on. Jonathan Brown talking about his big win and his smart modified tour. Really thankful for him helping us get our first win. And we'll have Uncle Chris back on at another time because we could tell stories for days, as you can tell.
Listen, that is hilarious to listen to, and especially I love hearing good Hermie Sadler stories, and it sounds like we've just scratched the surface. We haven't gotten even into the good stuff yet. It's like unpacking a box with...
The door is closed.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe the microphones are off and maybe the video camera's off, but I got to hear. You left us wanting more, and I guess you're really good at that. And wow, what a guest. What a way to finish another great episode of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I love doing this. I'm having a blast with you, Hermie. I hope you are as having as good a time as I'm having right now with the race team and with this podcast. Everything we talked about a year ago now has been coming to fruition, and I'm just loving it. I don't know how I'm going to handle myself 11 weeks without Smart Series Racing. But congratulations, team owner, on the win in the open wheel modified. We got to get you in that car, though, baby, before the end of the season. I hope we see you running around, turning left on one of our great short tracks in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the ones we got to save, the rural communities that depend so much on them, the ones who have convenience stores and bars and restaurants.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, Senator.
I mean, all of them need it.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, Senator. At any point in time that we can't find a good driver to get in there, I'm going to hop in right on in there for you.
You know, that's what we call like a qualification, a qualifier. You know, you ought to just say, all right, this date, I'm going to run the car. And man, I mean, we'll bring the crowds out that came out last time and mowed them off for you. Everybody loves you, Herm, and I love seeing you having a good time. And that's what started this whole thing. It's part of what started this great, amazing journey with the podcast and the open wheel modified team here on the Smart Series, and now in Wheeling with Ryan Newman and others. And I'm just tickled pink. And then to meet Chris Rice just blew me away. It was better than that big, huge 7 foot tall.
On a serious note, he and his family have great family friends of our whole family. I mean, since I was a teenager, and really helped me a lot, helped my brother a lot. And, this kind of like the things we're doing here, our relationship has been mutually beneficial for us and for Chris, because we both helped open doors for each other, that has helped us accomplish what we have in the racing world. And Chris is in a great position now, doing a great job with a great company, great owner, great drivers, and he's managing a lot. And because looking after me and Elliott is in a lot of ways looking after like 300 people at one time.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I mean, what's amazing is it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, we just saw, for those that may be watching on YouTube, you're going to be able to see this, but on the Zoom call, he's walking through this cavernous office. I mean, he is the CEO of one of the most exciting race teams. As soon as he opened the door, we lost him. And then his exclusive escape hatch. But the funny thing is between you, Fox television personality for 16 years, NASCAR legend in Virginia and driver, the Sadler brothers, not just the old company, but the Sadler brothers in NASCAR. This guy right here, Chris Rice, man, y'all are still the same. That fame, hasn't affected you. You can all return to that moment in Emporia in the 90s and be the same kid
Norma
again.
Jean's lunch counter.
That's right. And what was it happening, or whatever you say was.
What's the name in him?
Yeah, I mean, it's just refreshing to see that time changes, but it doesn't change y'all, and everybody should live that way, And like you like to say, you big timing me. Well, you guys, no matter how big you got, you're not big timing each other, and that was a great guy.
We get together and just pick right up right where we left off. If it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, a lot of history.
Yeah,
a lot of history and a lot of great memories with Chris Rice and his family. But we appreciate. Number one, we appreciate Pace O Matic for their sponsorship of this podcast, this platform, to talk about our small businesses and talk about our race team and
short tracks,
some of our friends and things we made along the way. So thanks to Pace O Matic, and look forward to another episode next week. So Senator, sign us off.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm still leaning right.
And I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left more so than normal after a conversation with Chris Rice. This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. And as always, we are powered by Pace O Matic. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.